Thank you. I think that's funny that I had to begin again. Well, the title of my talk today is, What is Your Destiny? Maybe I should say, what is our destiny? You know, Dr. Ernest Holmes has a little chapter that begins, and at the beginning of the chapter he says, determining destiny. Then he says, the technique by which we lay hold of mind power and learn and how to practice its practicality. Prove its practicality. Mind power. We take hold of mind power and we're going to prove that it's very practical. Mind power is like a real thing. It's a real power. So he talks about the mystics. Now, just so for those of you who are scared by that word, we're not talking psychic, we're talking mystic. And he defines a mystic as one who intuitively perceives truth and without any mental process arrives at a spiritual realization. One who has a deep inner sense of life and of his or her unity with the whole of life. He says without mental process, they arrive at this. It's called by many names, including self-realization with a capital S. And then he says all of the great mystics, all of the great sages have agreed that our destiny is divine and sure, that creation is complete and perfect right now. They have all agreed that our lives are ours to do with as we choose, but that when we turn to the One, we will always receive inspiration from on high. All of the great mystics have agreed that our destiny is divine and sure. If you talk to 4 psychics, you'll get 4 different interpretations of that sentence. But if you talk to the mystics, they all agree. It's very interesting. So what is a mystic? It is that person that intuitively senses their unity with the infinite. So I am just here to declare you all as mystics right now. You're mystics in the making. Say this with me. I am a mystic in the making. Okay, maybe some of you didn't want to be a mystic in the making. And it talks about mystic is one who has this sense of the divine without mental process. And yet here we are, a philosophy that devotes itself to teaching a mental process. Now, why is that? If this is something that can be known and revealed without mental process, why are we here teaching people a technique, a way of thinking that leads them into the realization of the highest truth? Well, you know what? I used to be an opera singer a long time ago, and I remember that I met many, many people because I was always in contests, Metropolitan Opera audition, San Francisco Opera audition. I was always in these competitions. And I met many people who had what you could call natural talent, really great voices, fabulous instruments. They had a perfect ear, perfect pitch. They had a tremendous ability to interpret music. And then there were others who didn't have that. I remember when I was in an opera company that was actually taking place on the University of Texas at Austin campus, where they had tons of money. So they had a professional level opera company. They even had an oil well on the campus, which I thought was odd. But in our opera company, a girl showed up, very homely, very skinny, with very thick glasses, long stringy hair, no makeup. She sort of dressed like a bag lady. And when she went to the director of the opera company, she said, I wish to be in the opera company. He said, here's a paintbrush. You can help paint the scenery. Yeah. Because she didn't look like an opera singer, and she didn't sound like an opera singer. She had a little tiny voice, kind of like wind through a knothole. You know, it wasn't great. But this girl so loved opera, and she was so determined that she was going to be an opera singer. She practiced hours a day. She studied for years. She kept improving herself. Pretty soon she got a small role in one of the big opera productions. Then she got an even bigger role. Then she would practice more and more. She got those lenses that you put in your eyes, what are they called? Contact, sorry. I didn't see your moment. She had got contact. She started dressing herself up and learning how to do makeup. And pretty soon, she looked pretty doggone good. Gained some weight. This girl wanted so desperately that her sheer willpower, by sheer practice and willpower and devotion, she became the winner of the Metropolitan Opera competition. And she became a huge star, went overseas and had a great career in Europe as an opera singer. So we here, I'm using this sort of as a comparison. Some people are mystics, truly. They have an experience of the divine that is life-transforming, and they just know, and they know that they know, and they know that they know that they know. And then there's the rest of us. Some people have said, one lady said, I wish I could have your faith. I said, I've got a lot of it. Let me lend you some of mine, you know. But what it really is that through contemplation, through meditation, through study, through a technique of thinking that we call spiritual mind treatment, where you're treating your mind to the highest truth, we teach these techniques, and you can come into that same depth of discovery of the truth of who you really are, that you are sacred, that you are divine. So we teach that mental process. Now, Dr. Ernest Holmes, who founded our teaching, which is called The Science of Mind, I want to make sure, since we have a lot of visitors here, this is not Scientology, okay? Scientology is a combination of science fiction, it has to do with aliens, and some psychology. So that's not us. The Science of Mind is a textbook that was written by Dr. Ernest Holmes, who was a very devout Christian most of his life, but he also investigated all the other spiritual traditions of Buddhism and Hinduism and Sufism and all kinds of, he wanted to know everything. And after he had studied all of these and Greek philosophy and all kinds of wonderful things, he says he came to the conclusion that the truth that all the great spiritual teachers came to is that we're already a part of God. We're already sacred. That our lives are unfolding within the one. And so he said this, since the divine must hold us as some part of its eternal perfection, we are fulfilling our destiny when we think of ourselves as already divine and perfect. To contemplate that divine life, which is at the center of every person's life, this is the very essence of mental healing. This is what we mean by self-realization. It is an inward feeling, a silent sense of divine reality, of limitless potential of human life, which means that the human is really divine, but is evolving ever more into a newer and better state of conscious being. So we have to wake up to it. That little song I wrote, Wake Up. Yeah. Have you ever been asleep and you are in a dream and then suddenly you start to wake up? It's a gradual process, isn't it? It isn't just, how many of you just wake up and you immediately get in your car and drive somewhere? Please don't do that anymore. So part of the awakening process that is discussed by so many has to do with being still. Deepak Chopra, whose a book we're going to be studying in the book study group, he said for thousands of years, the metaphor of waking up has been applied to describe what it means to move from a state of ignorance to a state of enlightenment. When a person wakes up, he opens his eyes and sees, which he couldn't do while asleep. He moves from a completely inert state of consciousness to one that is filled with alertness and responsiveness. He regains the sense of identity that was lost in sleep. The contrast delivered when a person becomes enlightened is said to be just as stark, but there is a subtle point to grasp. Waking up also implies a natural process that does not have to be forced. You do not have to choose to wake up in the morning. It dawns on you, and despite your sleepy resistance, eventually you are awake. The sages believe that spiritual awakening is just as natural and just as inevitable. The Enlightenment that dawned upon the ancient sages was different from yours and mine only because it came earlier. So he's talking about, you can wake up right now. It can be natural. In fact, he quotes that famous author, Franz Kafka, who usually wrote really, truly depressing books. They're all about the suffering, the woe. But here's something that he said, which was quite wonderful, a beautiful affirmation. He said, you do not need to leave your room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. Do not even listen. Simply wait. Do not even wait. Be quite still and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you. It will be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet. That's pretty deep for somebody who's all about suffering. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet. Hey, that reminds me of a song. I think it's a song that I wrote. Where's the band? Yeah, since I'm a singer, I'm going to sing part of my talk today, so, oh well. This is a beautiful song. I don't know if I wrote it, actually, because I've written so many songs, but I wrote the chart out, so I might have written it. It's called In the Silence. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release. From a world full of chaos and woe. So I wait in this precious moment till I hear words that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God. I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release. From a world full of chaos and woe. So I wait in this precious moment, and I hear words that can never be said. And right here in this holy silence I find God. I find God. I find God. I find myself. You don't have to clap for that one. We can all just sit here and feel good. I love that song, whether I wrote it or not. There is a wonderful quote that Ernest Holmes once again wrote in his wonderful book, The Science of Mind. The greatest good that can come to anyone is the forming within him or herself of an absolute certainty of his relationship to the universe, forever removing the sense of heaven as being outside of oneself. Such an understanding teaches us that limitation is a mistake. that unhappiness is ignorance. This understanding will rob a person of his or her loneliness and give one a sense of security which knows no fear, a peace without which no life can be happy, a poise which is founded on this peace, and a power which is the result of this peace with poise. So today I'm going to share with you that you have within you the possibility of 3 P's. You probably didn't know that. Peace, poise, and power. Everybody say that. Peace, poise, and power. One more time. Peace, poise, and power. This is what I'd like you to take with you today. And I'd like to encourage you to develop the consciousness that you have already these 3 qualities within you because you are connected to the divine. You could not take another breath without being connected to the source of all life. That which is breathing you is God, what we call God, the infinite all-beingness. So there's some quotes I'd like to have you repeat with me as part of your acceptance of this great gift of peace, poise, and power. Ernest Holmes said, in mental work, we must realize that there is an infinite mind which is consciously directing our destiny. So, accept for a moment, just give it a test drive, whether you believe it or not, but accept for a moment that there is a conscious intelligence driving your destiny, that you are destined to wake up to the magnificent human being you truly are. You are destined, no matter how zigzag the path may look, to wake up and to know that you are sacred, that you are part of the infinity of spirit, that you are good, that you are part of that peace, part of that power, and that there are no limitations. He says to help yourself get there, declare every day the following: no mistakes have been made, none are being made, and none can be made. Let's take that out for a test drive. No mistakes are being made, none have been made, and none can be made. Now, he tells us to declare this every single day, because how many of you have ever felt that you've made a lot of mistakes? Just me? Yeah, but he says, we're going to begin again. My little song about begin again, begin again. No mistakes, as of this moment, no mistakes have been made. Everything led me to this moment. Whether it looked like a mistake, whether it looked like a failure, whether it looked like I made a big mess, somehow it got me here. So it was part of the journey of awakening. So no mistakes have been made. None are being made, and none can be made. Because now I'm listening to that infinite wisdom that is available to me. Then he says, declare again. There is one supreme intelligence. Try this with me. There is one supreme intelligence which governs, guards, tells me what to do, when to act, and how to act. Let's say it one more time. There is one supreme intelligence which governs, guards, and tells me what to do, when to act and how to act. Yeah, if you were listening to that intelligence, you wouldn't be making any mistakes, would you? Or let's put it this way. Your life would be much smoother. You would be equipped with 3 P's. Peace, poise, power. And then he said, declare further everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy is mine now. Ooh, I like that one. I memorize that when I say it all the time. Everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy. Yeah, of the most boundless experience of joy is mine now. And then he says this right after that. Know this, see it, feel it, and be it. Let's say that. I know it. I see it. I feel it. I am it. I know it. I feel it, I see it, I am it. Let's go. I know it, I feel it, I see it, I am it. I know it, I feel it, I see it, I am it. I know it, I feel it. Oh, yeah, yeah. I know it, I feel it, I see it. I know it, I feel it, I see it, I am it. I know it, I feel it, I see it, I am it. That means we're going to stop now. Yeah, I mean, I can get into it. Yeah, we're sort of a quasi-gospel church. And then he says, do this every day for a few minutes until the time comes when you no longer feel it's necessary. When that time comes, you will know it because your demonstration of good will have been made. This is a very powerful teaching. Dr. Deepak Chopra, his book is talking about the spontaneous fulfillment of your desires. The spontaneous fulfillment of your desires. Not wishing, hoping, wondering, feeling regretful that you didn't do X, Y, or Z, but knowing it, seeing it, feeling it, being it. So I want to leave you with those two things. 3 P's. What are they? And you know it, see it, feel it, you are it. I somehow I just don't believe you. One more time. I know it, I see it, I feel it, I am it. I know it, I see it, I feel it, I am. I know it, I see it, I feel it, I am it. I know it, I see it, oh yeah, I know it, I see it, I feel it, I am it. I know it, I see it, I feel it, I am it. And so it is. This band is so much fun. Kim, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to pass on that job. Yeah. No, we wish him well.